guys. So you may be thinking to yourself, in light of the recent news, actually, of the great Dumble passing away, you know, maybe I should be looking at a D-style amplifier, you know. Well, I'm just going to move aside here, and you can see my two Dumbles. One's a 100 watt, one's a 50 watt. Basically, what happened with me is I heard Talk to Your Daughter many years ago now, and as you can see, when I was young, and that sound, that overdrive sound, is the one that sort of captivated me. Obviously the Steve Ray Vaughan, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but for me it was the overdrive sound from Robin Ford, which is that really kind of chirpy, kind of got a chirp, a strain and a bloom, and when you're playing the amplifier it's almost like you're pressing a button and then the overdrive comes out, rather than the kind of overdrive sort of encapsulating, enveloping the note like an overdrive pedal tends to do. Another thing is that humbucker guitars work really well through Dumble amps, whereas through like a Les Paul through an effects pedal for me doesn't work so well. But that kind of bloom where you can just bend a note up, it lacks the sort of quite heavy bass of a blackface amp. It's got quite a tight bass, but you've got this chimey high end, and you've also got this very profound mid-range, which is kind of the cliche thing of the Dumble amplifier. So I've been using these amplifiers for donkey's years, particularly these two, and back in the day there was only a few people making clones, and the two guys that were doing it were Bill Crenard in America and Tommy Cougar in Europe. So I was in Europe, I'm in England, so I went to Tommy Cougar. And, you know, to a certain extent, the secret died with Dumble, because the secret was in Dumble's head. You know, every amplifier was different, you know. He was hearing how an amp should be made in his head. So the secrets died with him. But guys like Bill Crenard and Tommy Cougar have kind of taken his philosophy and his kind of canvas and then made it, you know, done, you know, using the same circuit, you know, the same schematic, then kind of maybe tweaked it a little bit to their ears and dialed it into their ears as to what sounds good. And I think that Bill Crenard and Tommy Cougar are the two best guys in the world at doing it. I think they, you know, I wouldn't want to play an amplifier that wasn't made by one of those two. Personally, that's me personally. But that's not to say there's not some other great Dumble amplifiers being made. And of course, if you want sort of reliability and a consistent sound, you might want to go to Fuchs, Andy Fuchs. I mean, he's a different approach. He's kind of got the schematic, got some good parts, you know, worked out what all the values should be, and then there's consistency. It's always going to sound the same, and that's the kind of the Fuchs platform, which is a very, very good quality amplifier. You know, you can buy one of them and you know what you're going to get. You're going to get the same thing every time. And then you've got Seritone or Keriotone, however you pronounce it, and they're doing some very good quality work. And as I understand, it's point-to-point, hand-wired. And I guess, you know, I've played a few of them, and it seems to me that they're very good amplifiers, but maybe they need to be sort of tweaked by somebody. The particular Keriotone amp that I know of has been tweaked by a really cool musician called Dr. Iker, and he tweaked this Keriotone to make it sound really sweet. So maybe that's what you need to do with one of them. I don't know, you know, but because I'm a player predominantly, and I didn't get involved in the whole, you know, all the circuits, the Bluesmaster, the HRM, non-HRM, Skyline, all that sort of stuff, that jargon. It's not really my focus. So, but you might want to go down that rabbit hole. But what I will say is this: why would you need one? Well, this is the thing. Do you want like really crystalline cleans? You know, almost like a phasey sort of sound. You know, do you want really beautiful clean sounds, and then go to your that what you want? And if so, you're only going to get that really from the Dumble platform, because with that overdrive sound, it's, you know, the amp is kind of, it's a one channel amp. You've got the clean channel, and then the overdrive is just distorting that clean channel. So, you know, there's always going to be a compromise as to which channel sounds the best. But really, I guess the way it works is that, you know, you focus on the overdrive channel when you're building the amp, tweaking the amp. And maybe the clean channel is always a secondary thought. It could be vice versa. Maybe with Larry Carlton's amp, you know, he plays clean a lot, so maybe the focus was his clean sound, and then the overdrive was an afterthought. But generally, the Dumble amps, the way they work, they've got a beautiful clean sound and a beautiful overdrive sound. So that might not be how you play. You might kind of be like more of a Marshall or a Tweed style guy, where you're kind of using the amp pretty much on full throttle, and you're using overdrives to boost it, or boost pedal to boost that signal into more heavy overdriven sounds, and then you're using your volume control to back off to get a clean sound. If that's your approach, then the Dumble platform's not really for you. It's not going to really work on that. I mean, you know, you could potentially work off of the overdrive and then clean it up that way. But really the way the Dumble amplifier works is, you know, you've got your clean sound, and then you've got your overdrive sound. And I would say, if you're more into pedals, if you're into effects pedals more rather than the overdrive sort of from the amplifier, then don't get a Dumble, because the whole point of an overdrive special, you know, the clue is in the name. It's an overdrive sound. You know, that's what the amp is for. So you have to kind of really think, you know, do I really want to have this Dumble style amplifier for the overdriven sound? You know, you don't want to go and get an overdrive special ODS clone and then, oh, I don't like the overdrive sound, I'm going to use pedals, you know, because it's a bit of a waste. You know, you might as well just get a clean amplifier, you know, which there are many of, you know. So that's, you know, it should be in your consideration, you know, what kind of, you know. And there's guys, there's I should mention some new guys. Welligan, he's a really cool guy. He's doing some really cool clones and very tidy work, and he's based in America. I think he's from the Netherlands, and he's doing some really great work as well. So check him out. Yeah, guys, I know, Che Guevara, yeah. I mean, I was given this cup. I'm not a communist, by the way. I was given this cup by a very good friend. Just happened to be the only one, the one I grabbed today. So don't read anything into it. I'm not a communist, I promise. Okay, we don't do politics. We don't do politics on this channel. So let's come back. So do I need a Dumble amplifier? Well, you know, think about your needs. These are loud amps as well, but they can play really quietly. So this has got a dumbulator. So this is another thing you're going to think about. You know, do you need that overdrive sound? Then if you really want to go the whole way and get something very authentic, you're going to get the head and then the dumbulator, which is a separate thing to put your effects into the loop, so the distortion works. And then you're going to think about a cabinet. You know, this has got a Thiel cabinet. I've got an original Altec Lancing, because when Dumble started off, his favourite speakers were Altec Lancing, then there were JBLs, and then there were EVs, and then he ended up, in the end, liking Celestion speakers. That's why, if you look at any later Dumbles, they will come with Celestions, because they were his favourite speakers in the end. So that's another consideration. You know, this is the whole system. You know, the amplifier, the dumbulator, the effects, and the speaker is one system that you've got to get right, and that can take some work. I would recommend getting a Celestion speaker. Good friend Henry Kaiser told me that Altec's, especially the one I have, it doesn't sound great until it's really loud, and that's true, you know, but I do concerts, so it's good for me. So that's one thing you want to think about, guys. I mean, I've used these amplifiers as part of my rig for many years. They've been on countless albums now, and I've played them all over Europe. So, you know, they're very reliable. It's my sound, you know, and I love these amplifiers, what they do. Like I said, it's not going to be, these are not real Dumbles, these are clones. So, you know, you have to like the builder's take on that Dumble sound. You know, but you don't, because this is what I say. It's like, it can cost money, and it's like a rabbit hole. It's like, how far down that rabbit hole do you want to go? Getting that Dumble sound that you have in your head, that you've heard on your favorite records by, these great guys like Sonny Landreth, Robin Ford, and Larry Carlton, and Steve Ray Vaughan, Christopher Cross, all these guys that you love. You've got that sound in your head, and you're going to start paying money for it. You're going to pay a lot of money, because some of these amps cost quite a bit of money. Some don't, but some do. And you're going to gamble all that money, and you might end up with a system that you're not happy with, and it doesn't sound like those guys that you've heard. I was lucky. I'm not saying you're going to be lucky like I am, but I was lucky because when I got these amplifiers, it was a sound I could work with. It was as close as I care to be to Robin Ford. I like to have my own sound as well, and it was as close as I could possibly get to Robin Ford's sound. They were expensive amps, but they do the job, and the proof's in the pudding. I've used these professionally for 15 years, so for me it's worked out great. But I've had other friends that have bought these kind of similar systems, and it hasn't worked out, and they've lost a lot of money, and it's not what they wanted. So maybe you'll want to go the route where you get a good Fender or good quality amplifier and a pedal. You can get some Dumble style pedals. Now let's talk about pedals. Okay, I use pedals with this amp, and I'm going to tell you why. For me, there's two guitars that work really well with this amplifier: humbucker guitars and Telecasters. Okay, so Telecasters and humbucker Les Pauls work really beautifully with this amplifier. Okay, a pedal cannot, in my opinion, replicate the Dumble sound. Hey, jury's out. Maybe the Ethos pedal, I haven't really tried one, but maybe that could get close. I've heard people say it does get close, but I haven't tried. I need to try one. But generally, a lot of these pedals I played, they don't get anywhere near close, because the way that the pedal affects a tone and the way that it covers, through the op amp, it's just different. It doesn't really work with a humbucker guitar, in my opinion. The sound when you're playing, that overdrive sound is part of the guitar. It becomes part of the guitar. So that's the best way I could describe it. When we're playing a pedal, it's not quite the same. It's kind of laid on top of the guitar, if you see, for want of a better expression. So let's change. Okay, here I am with a Stratocaster. Now, with a Strat, I don't ever use the overdrive from the amplifier, because, as I said, I feel it works best with a Telecaster style guitar and a Les Paul humbucker style. But with the Stratocaster, just because the EQ range of a Strat, I tend to use a Tube Screamer style pedal. So this is clean, which is quite nice. But when we have the overdrive pedal, so for me, it just, the Strat just speaks better with a kind of a Tube Screamer style pedal, which I'm using here. And that's really, so that's another consideration, is the type of guitar that you play. If you mainly play a Stratocaster, my thing would be, well, you don't really need an overdrive special amp, because for me the overdrive doesn't really work that great with a Strat. Whereas if you're playing Telecasters or Les Pauls, then yeah, you don't need an overdrive pedal. You can just use the overdrive from the amplifier. So that's kind of like, something to bear in mind if you're going to spend all this money. And it really is like going down a rabbit hole, because a lot of these kind of small makers take their time to build one, and then you might wait all that time and spend all that money, and it comes back and it's not the sound that you had in your head. And then what you're going to do, you're going to try and sell it, and you're going to lose a lot of money, because obviously on the second-hand market it's going to go for less. That's where somebody like, I guess, Carrier Tone is good, because it's cheaper, and Fuchs is more consistent. So there's two makers. I mean, Bill Crenard for me. Bill Crenard back in the day, if I was new getting into the Dumble game, I would probably look for a Bill Crenard made 2-rock, one of the old ones, because for me he was like the original guy. Along with Tommy Cougar, as I said, these two were the original guys doing the clones, And So that's kind of my 2 cents on this, but I've been playing, the difference between me and other YouTubers is I've actually been using these amplifiers for 15 years and in a professional environment, and it's not something I'm just reading a couple of books or reading off the internet and then making a video sounding like I know what I'm talking about. These are amplifiers that I've used day in and day out. I've loved them. It was an investment for me, but it's paid off, and I've changed guitars. Guitars have come and gone, but the amplifiers have always stayed. Recently, if you know my channel, I've also got into the more tweedy style amps. So for me, I have, what I love now is the kind of the Dumble style amplifier for what it does, and I love the tweed style amplifiers. And really, for me, I've got my whole sort of everything that I personally do, my music, covered with those two styles of amplifiers. But that's not to say that you might just want to Dumble. You've got so much money, you've got to Dumble it, and you want to put a Dumble style amplifier in your collection, and so be it. But if you're looking for just your one amplifier, you really need to think hard about who's going to build that amplifier, and is it going to be the sound that you've got in your head? Are you able to try it out? Before you pay that money. So that's just a few things to think about. Got any questions, put them in the comments and I'll try and answer them. But until the next one, vive la revolution. No, I'm only joking. God bless, guys. Take care.